What's up, world? Let me tell you about this beard growth oil I got from 12 tribes on Earth. 8 ounces of oily goodness with a nozzle that prevents sprays and spills, and soft ingredients that make it perfect addition to anyone's morning routine. From coconut to castor, all these oils are hand chosen. After using this herbal blend, the biggest thing I noticed is how soft, how strong my hair was, and how good I feel. Pick up your bottle today and make your beard the star of the show.
Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, Donald Trump just can't stay out of the camera from lying. He is lying about the Iranians, talking about the war is over. Nobody has declared the war over, and the loser does not get to choose when the war is over. He really don't know how this thing works. But then again, his arrogance tell me even when he loses, he think he's in charge. So the Iranians, of course, have come out to debunk what Donald Trump is saying nobody made these agreements. Donald Trump said they agreed to get rid of their nuclear program and hand over, stuff over to the U.S. Now, if Iran won and they kicked your ass, why do they got to hand something over to the country that bombed them? You know how stupid that sounds? Couldn't you take what they hand over and use it against them? Oh, they're going to get rid of their nuclear program and they're going to give us they're going to hand stuff over to us. That is dumb. That is dumb. No, nobody that wins a war does that. But there are people that actually believe Donald Trump. Look, if you go over on TikTok, and it's mainly people that look like Donald Trump, they're on there saying, see, we're winning the war. See, we're winning the war because Iran is surrendering and handing stuff over to us. No, they're not. No, they're not. Iran ain't going to surrender down a thing to you. So apparently, the U.S., the claim is they block, I think, like 13 ships from going in. I said, at the end of the day, let's say this is true. That's going to be all the more reason for the rest of the world to turn on the US. They've already turned on us. It's going to get worse. If you deny people gas and oil, fertilizer, and goods that they depend on, and you're blocking nations from getting that, oh, eventually they're going to come for you, Donald Trump. They're going to come for you and the US. So we'll see how long. China already pushed their way through, said, you ain't blocking us from nothing. We going in there. We're not asking. And you just watch. It's going to be other nations doing that. And if they do get blocked, you're going to hear from these nations that are getting blocked, especially as the gas prices continue to go up globally. And they're on the verge of running out of gas, and Donald Trump is in the way. Oh, it's going to be a major problem, y'all. A major problem. And I was reading this morning, there are more cancellations for the World Cup. That stadium is going to look empty. That stadium will be empty for the World Cup, y'all. And it's not that far away. And people are canceling left and right. And they're given warnings about traveling to the US, especially if they are foreigners. They're being warned that they can end up in an ICE detention center, and you may not be able to trace them. They don't want these people traced. You know that? The ones that go in ICE detention, they are wiping out all information on these people. So when you go to look to see who's in your, you should have the ability to go and look to see if your loved one or somebody you know is in an ICE detention center. They are literally wiping out records so these people can't be traced. I mean, it's a lot of dirty stuff going on for real. Y'all, all I got to say, that's all the more reason why y'all should not be trying to come to the US. That's all the more reason. And if you can't be traced, they can literally do anything to you and get away with it and make no record of what they're doing to you. They could be violating you on a daily basis and it will not be documented. You know, they have done that to us historically. They have done many things. You think they reported all of the lynchings that happened? Of course not. And look at what they do today. They report them as suicides. And we know they're not, but that's what they will do. These folks will do shit to you and make sure it don't get reported. So I'm just saying that's all the more reason why you should not be coming here. Okay, because there's no telling what's going to happen to you if you end up in ICE detention centers and these folks are the ones in charge over there. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. That spells trouble right there. All right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. But before I do, there is an article that I found I want y'all to take a quick look at. You know how we know Donald Trump is lying? Well, y'all, the entire planet knows Donald Trump is lying. And they're saying that he has a credibility problem. And, of course, they're putting it on America. America has a credibility problem. And it's true. It's true. And it's talking about, Iran being in a stronger position. I mean, technically, after losing this war, Iran is stronger. They definitely got a stronger standing in the world, and America don't. America is really looking weak, big time. And y'all, I can tell a lot of people that probably won't admit it are watching my channel. I did that video on the floods in Ghana. And it really wasn't many people talking. In fact, I didn't see any videos on it. When I put mine out, I didn't see anybody else reporting on that. So now I'm, just listening to some channels here and there. Now everybody seems to know about this flood. But when I put that video out, there was no one with a video out talking about that flood in Ghana. So I was like, okay, so a lot of y'all are watching me and you probably ain't admitting it, but you are watching. You are watching for real. So, and that's not the first time. I've also done stories that no one else was putting out. And then the next day, I would hear on different channels people talking about that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So you are watching, huh? No, I don't watch her. No, I don't watch her. I don't watch her. Okay, y'all. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Yeah, you're right, Brooklyn. I think it's kind of hilarious though, because there was somebody, I'm not going to call them out, but there was somebody that said they didn't know who I was. I don't really know who she is, but every time you turn around, when I put a video out the very next day, that person is talking about the topics that I spoke about the day before. They don't know who I am, though. And sometimes they use my very same words. But according to him, he really don't know who the hell I am. But I think it's kind of funny though, y'all. I ain't gonna lie, I think it's hilarious. All right. Thank you for the ones, y'all.
Iran has agreed to no nuclear weapons, and they will hand over the nuclear dust.
The big thing we have to do is we have to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, because if they do, you want to talk about problems, you'd have problems. So very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully. They've
Okay. Iran has said they have made no such agreement with Donald Trump. Now, again, if you won a war or you got the upper hand in a war, why would you give up your nukes and then hand the nuclear dust over to your enemy that dropped bombs on you and started the war? This makes zero sense. And Iran said they haven't made any agreements with Donald Trump, but he's in the news saying this. This man, I don't think he could tell the truth if somebody said to him, Donald Trump, you can have everything you want if you stop lying. He probably would just keep right on lying. That's how pathological he is.
agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bombers. So we have a lot of agreement with Iran, and I think something's going to happen very positive.
This blockade, which the chairman will detail this morning, is the polite way that this can go. Your energy is not moving and will not move, and we can do this all day. But it's not destroyed yet. Your energy industry is not destroyed yet. You like to say publicly, Iran, that you control the Strait of Hormuz, but you don't have a navy or real domain awareness. You can't control anything. To be clear, threatening to shoot missiles
See, this is another lie the U.S. is telling. Iran's navy is intact, y'all. They still do have a navy out there. That's why they can allow certain countries to go into the Straits of Hormuz and block other countries. How the hell do you think they're doing that if they don't have a navy? Okay. And this is another lie. Oh, we wiped all of them out. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. But one thing they did was wipe all of your U.S. bases out. That's why Donald Trump told them not to turn on the satellite so images can't be taken of the U.S. bases. If you did not know that, that's what Donald Trump did. He made them switch the satellite off so no images of the bombed out U.S. bases can be shown. Okay? But they wiped out their Navy. No, you didn't wipe out any branch of their military. You just keep lying to the American people about that. So let's go on.
and drones at ships, commercial ships that are lawfully transiting international waters. That is not control. That's piracy. That's terrorism. The United States Navy controls the traffic going in and out of the strait because we have real assets and real capabilities. And we're doing this blockade, performing it with less than 10% of America's naval power. The math is clear. We're using 10% of the world's most powerful Navy, and you have 0% of your Navy. That's real control. And we have a long track record of dealing with pirates and terrorists. But there is an alternative. As our
See, this is why men like Pete Hegseth, people are now looking at y'all sideways because they know you're lying. They know you're lying. And the more you keep doing this on a regular basis, the less likely anyone will ever trust the U.S. again. All you're doing is messing up the reputation. Whatever little you got left is more than likely gone because people like this keep going before the cameras, lying. And then look at what he did yesterday. Claim he was using Bible scripture and he was using a script from Pulp Fiction. See, this is why less and less people, as time go on, are going to believe the people that look like Pete Hegseth. It's already going in that direction now. Nobody's going to ever believe anything you say. Anything you say will suddenly start getting dismissed, and rightfully so at this point.
Negotiators have said, you, Iran, can choose a prosperous future, a golden bridge. And we hope that you do for the people of Iran. In the meantime, and for as long as it takes, we will maintain this blockade, successful blockade. But if Iran chooses poorly, then they will have a blockade and bombs dropping on infrastructure, power, and energy.
We've just learnt this information from US Central Command. They say that this Iranian flagged ship attempted to break the blockade and exit the Strait of Hormuz, but the US Navy vessel was able to redirect that ship, sending it back the way it came, back towards Iran. The US claims that its blockade is working, that no ships have managed to get through, and that it has now turned around 10 vessels. They've also released a clip of what they are sending out to ships if they...
Ladies and gentlemen, China and India got through. China and India got through, but they are reporting nobody can get through. It is a lie. China went through there just a day or two ago. India also went in there and left with what they went in there for. So again, not only Donald Trump, but he got the media lying as well. All right, let's go on.
They try to break through. Take a listen.
The U.S. has announced a formal blockade of Iranian ports and coastal areas. This is illegal action. If you do not comply with this blockade, we will use force. The whole of the United States Navy is ready to force compliance. Now.
Iran is threatening to retaliate if the US do not lift this blockade. One military leader saying that Iran will halt trade in other crucial waterways, including the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, and the Sea of Oman. That military leader saying that they view these maritime restrictions as a violation of the current ceasefire. Now, this comes as the Washington Post is reporting that 10,000 more US...
I also want y'all to remember the U.S. technically have no legal right to put up a blockade in that area. The U.S. does not have jurisdiction over that area at all. About the second day of the war, Donald Trump was saying the U.S. owns the Straits of Hormuz. No, you don't. But you're acting like you own it. But Iran did say, if they continue to get in the way, they will bomb these warships. All right. So if you wiped everybody out, how do they have the ability to bomb you? And trust me, they do. They do. They're not lying about that. But this is what they really have no legal right to do that. Nothing over there in those waters belong to the U.S. Nothing in the Persian Gulf belongs to them. So they are literally breaking a law and committing a war crime. by denying the rest of the world of whatever goods and oil and gas they get out of there. Let's go on.
US troops are on their way to the region. Donald Trump bolstering their military presence in that area as he's trying to pressure Iran to make a deal. And mediators on both sides are trying to get Iran and the US back to the negotiating table with this ceasefire set to expire next week.
This is huge breaking news coming in. Iran says President Trump has lied to media and directly denied Trump's claim that it agreed to hand over its enriched uranium. A major contradiction has now emerged in the U.S.-Iran talks after Donald Trump said to media that Iran had agreed to surrender enriched uranium and move toward a deal. Watch this.
Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that. They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust.
After that, Iran strongly pushed back, and according to the Reuters, a source close to Iranian parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf said, no form of nuclear material transfer to America has been negotiated, and Iranian officials say negotiations are still deadlocked, and future talks depend on the U.S. accepting Iran's conditions. Right now, there is no signed deal, no confirmed uranium handover, and no final agreement. The real story is that diplomacy is still alive, but trust is extremely low, and both sides are now fighting the media battle as much as the negotiations themselves. Make sure to follow for latest updates.
Very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully. They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bomber. So we have a lot of agreement with Iran, and I think something's going to happen very positive.
Here's today's Iran war update. Trump tells Fox News that the war is over. They're still negotiating. Why you would tell Iran that when we're still negotiating is insane, because now Iran goes, okay, well, then we don't have to give you any concessions. At the same time, thousands of new U.S. troops are arriving in the region, suggesting that maybe Trump is lying and maybe he's planning to blow the crap out of Iran, but is trying to misdirect. Meanwhile, Iran says if their ships are affected by the U.S. blockade, they will shut down all transit in the Persian Gulf. The Pentagon claims no Iranian-linked vessels were permitted to leave or come to Iran, but actually Institute for Study of War says 6 such vessels were able to leave or come from the Strait of Hormuz yesterday. Trump claims Iran would have had a nuke in 2 weeks had he not invaded. First time Trump has come up with this, by the way. We've been at war for 6+ weeks, and suddenly today, Trump says, oh, they were going to have a nuke in 2 weeks. I just didn't tell you until today. He's lying. North Korea, however, is looking at a very serious increase in its ability to produce nuclear weapons, according to Agence France-Presse. Trump responded to reports that Europe was planning to sweep mines after the war by going on a rant about Greenland. He still wants Greenland. Trump mocked Jesus again by meme this morning. As you recall, Trump a week ago, or actually several days ago, posted a meme of himself as Jesus on Orthodox Easter, and once again this morning posted another meme of Jesus and said, oh, the liberals are going to get all upset, which means, by the way, that he didn't mean it when he took down the other one. He's not sorry. Trump again claimed falsely that no one could have imagined that Iran would have attacked its neighbors. Everyone imagined that. Trump said it's okay if China launches cyber attacks on the U.S. China will be glad to hear that. Meanwhile, Trump says China told him they're not really sending weapons to Iran. I'm sure we can just take China at its word. Then Trump appeared to threaten China militarily in a tweet. That was weird. Italian opposition party got a standing ovation for defending Prime Minister Meloni and the Pope, who Trump attacked both of them. Meanwhile, Trump is now warning that the trade deal he worked out with the UK can always be changed, meaning the U.S. word means nothing anymore in economic deals or military
deals. J.D. Vance last night told the Pope to stop lying.
And also additional resources for those of you that have been asking are also linked down below. And there is a lot going on with the conflict right now. And I see people dropping in the comments war. They're saying it looks like we are not going to have peace here. We are going to have more war. But let's go ahead and get you caught up on the latest. Let's start off with some video footage as the Iranian president has responded as the U.S. military blockade of ports is underway. And we're seeing that the title of this is just turmoil. And we've seen the response in the last hour, as I mentioned, as they're saying there will be no deal, all surrounding the enrichment of uranium and the warnings coming out from the UN and from others of Iran and a nuclear weapon. But let's go ahead and take a look at this video footage, and then we're going to dive into the articles here shortly.
President Trump revealing to Fox News he believes the war with Iran is close to ending.
Our chief foreign correspondent, Trey, joins us live from Tel Aviv with the latest. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey, guys, good morning. President Trump laying out the latest timeline for the war with Iran in an interview with Fox News. He believes the conflict is close to finish, but the mission is not yet complete. We do know, according to reports, that direct talks between the U.S. and Iran could take place as early as tomorrow, as the president laid out why this operation began.
I had to do it because if I didn't do that, right now you would have Iran with a nuclear weapon. And if they had a nuclear weapon, you would be calling everybody over there, sir. And you don't want to do that.
Well, you keep saying was. Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country. And we're not finished.
The president's comments come as U.S. Central Command continues to block Iranian ports with more than a dozen support vessels. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper explained the impact of this move, saying, quote, a blockade of Iranian ports has been fully implemented as U.S. forces maintain maritime superiority in the Middle East. An estimated 90% of Iran's economy is fueled by international trade by sea. In less than 36 hours since the blockade was implemented, U.S. forces have completely halted economic trade going into and out of Iran by sea. The Iranians are now responding to the blockade, with the IRGC threatening to target any U.S. ships in the area. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian taking a slightly different tone.
There is now a problem in the Persian Gulf, and the world has been thrown into turmoil. This has had an impact across the world. People are dissatisfied voices. But we ourselves are in the midst of this turmoil. All these pressures, our work is progressing properly.
Iranian officials really starting to feel this pressure from the Trump administration. President Trump in that interview last.
So we've got Iran clapping back at Trump. Iran warns Trump, warships are approaching the strait. We will deal with them severely. If Americans start a ground war, we're going to deploy 1 million of our troops. Iran warns Trump, warships are approaching. We will deal with them severely. Do we think that this is like real? I mean, I don't really know anything about their regime. Like, do they even have this power? And for people who are in the military, are ground troops from America being talked about going over there? Is that where this is escalating to? I haven't really followed too much this weekend. I was busy. So this is all kind of new to me. I didn't know that we were talking in terms of sending ground troops, but I know these things change rapidly.
Yeah, girlfriend, you sound like you're behind. You haven't kept up. Yes, they've been sending troops. In fact, y'all, they sent more troops over there. Recently, they sent more over there. So I guess girl must have been sleepwalking through life, because I don't know how you don't know this. There have been troops going over there, and it's been in the news for weeks now. So yes, there are more still being sent over there, y'all. They haven't stopped. And Pete Hegseth, he said they're not coming back. They're not going to bring them back. Even if negotiations go well and the war ends, those troops will remain over there. They're not going to be coming back, even if they work out a deal. So they're going to be over there regardless. So just because you don't know what's going on, don't talk to everybody like nobody else does either. Many of us have been keeping up. Apparently, lady, you haven't been keeping up at all. All right, let's go on.
Rapidly. So what is the word out there on military people? Do we really consider these guys a threat? Are we just flexing? What's the vibe? I don't know. But ground troops sound interesting. And they have a military that's over 1 million people. That's intense.
Most of you won't see this till the morning, but I want you all to know that Iran has responded to Trump's threats and has said that it is Trump who has about 20 hours to surrender to Iran, or his allies will be sent back into the Stone Age. And Iran went and launched attacks on the Jubal industrial city and struck the SABIC petrochemical company. It's on fire. It's one of the largest petro manufacturers, refineries, chemical companies in Saudi Arabia. Iran knocked out 2 power plants in Kuwait and 2 desalination plants there. Kuwait does not import any water. They rely on it entirely from the desalination plants. They hit the fuel tanks at the Kuwait International Airport, and they struck the Ali al-Salam Air Base, injuring 15 American soldiers. The IRGC Naval Command has said the Strait of Hormuz will never return to its normal state, and they will now control it solely. So Trump's threatened to blow up bridges, civilian infrastructure like desalination plants, power plants, and they're both doing this back and forth now. The people that are going to be affected are the civilians.
Breaking news that we are following out of the Middle East. Iran Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has now criticized and appears to have flat out rejected a proposal by the U.S. amid negotiations over Tehran's rapidly advancing nuclear program. His remarks a short time ago saying Iran refuses to give up enriching uranium in any possible deal.
All right, so a lot going on today, June 4th, 2025, as we are receiving nuclear warnings coming out, and also word that phone calls coming out. President Donald Trump saying some of the peace agreement deals that they're working on have fallen apart. Now, let me go ahead and share with you the latest headlines, the video footage. I'm going to play it for you breaking today, June 4th, 2025, so that way you can see it for yourself. And like I said, I'm going to play for you the video clips here in just a second, but let's take a look at the headlines coming out today. Iran's supreme leader sends a nuclear warning directly to the United States. You can see this coming out just a couple of hours ago. Here's another one. Iran's supreme leader has rejected the U.S. zero uranium enrichment demands as 100% against its interest. Now, we're going to be talking about the United States, Iran, the nuclear warnings and threats that are...
Donald Trump is panicking as the top leadership in Iran has not been decimated. And they are out there saying, now that you killed our Ayatollah, Donald, we are coming for you, and we are not capitulating. We are not surrendering, and we are going to strike back with additional force, and don't think you will ever not be in our sight, Donald. So throughout the day yesterday, Donald Trump was like, we decimated Iran. Iran has surrendered, or Donald Trump would say they need to totally surrender. But he also said they have surrendered. And then he was asked, well, what do you mean by that? He goes, they need to cry uncle. If they cry uncle, then they will fully surrender. Like, what in the world are you talking about? So the president of Iran put out a statement that basically said, look, if you are a nation in the Middle East and you stop allowing the U.S. to use your air bases, we will stop attacking you with the Shahi drones and ballistic missiles. It is not our intention or our desire to strike around the Middle East. And then they also apologized to nations, which they were specifically seemed to be talking about Turkey and Azerbaijan, and saying, you know, we apologize for striking you, but if you strike us or if you allow the U.S. To use your bases, we're going to come after you, basically. And then the president of Iran also said, and let's be clear, we reject even the thought of a surrender to the United States, to which Donald Trump's like, aha, they've surrendered. Okay, so in response to that, the foreign minister of Iran, who's been very vocal, he's also the individual who attended the mediation with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. We also talk for a second that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are the ones who are somehow involved in these high-level mediations that are resulting in these devastating wars that are destroying so much of the United States of America. But I digress. The foreign minister of Iran put out the following statement. Foreign Minister Araghchi, he says, President Pezeshkian, who's the president of Iran, expressed openness to de-escalation within our region, provided that our neighbors' airspace, territory, and waters are not used to attack the Iranian people. Gesture to our neighbors was almost immediately killed by President Trump. Here is my statement. So this is the statement that was issued from the foreign minister of Iran. President Pezeshkian's openness to de-escalation, again, president of Iran's openness to de-escalate within our region, provided that our neighbors' airspace, territory, and waters are not used to attack the Iranian people, was almost immediately killed by President Trump's
This is coming from Iran's parliament speaker who says, quote, your reckless moves are dragging the United States into a living hell for every single family. And our whole region is going to burn because you insist on following Netanyahu's command. Adding, make no mistake, you won't gain anything through war crimes. The only real solution is respecting the rights of the Iranian people and ending this dangerous game. He's referring to the fact that Donald Trump in his message did mention that he's going to hit bridges and power plants inside of Iran. Hitting power plants that are for civilians, that is a war crime. We also heard from the former Iranian foreign minister who said in a statement, if the White House repeats its foolish mistakes, it will quickly realize that the flow of energy and global trade can be disrupted with a single signal. He went further by saying, while the United States has learned history from Iran, it is yet to learn the geography of power, referring to the fact that when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, it being shut down for an extremely long time will definitely screw up the world economy. We're already seeing it now. Bottom line is, it doesn't look like Iran is going to be by 8.
So, in other words, y'all, continue to watch foreign news because you can't believe a damn thing that comes out of the Trump administration. You can't believe a damn thing that comes out of the U.S. media. Everybody is just lying and want to keep the people in the dark. And the bottom line is, that's why I will never trust the media or Donald Trump when it comes down to the war. And I will continue to look at the foreign sources over the U.S. news or anything that the Trump administration say. Can't be trusted. Can't be trusted at all. That's why I put that avatar with the 3 faces and said, there's no truth in him, and there is no truth in this man. Another thing I wanted to tell y'all, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, he just got a $20 billion contract, government contract. I said, see, that's why he did not join the cabinet, so he could get those big, giant contracts like Elon Musk. You know, I mean, think about it. What does this guy do that's worth some $20 billion? He probably don't do nothing that's worth $20. But these folks overvalue themselves, try to make you believe they're way smarter than what they really are. Okay. And we see all that projecting for real. But yeah, he just landed a $20 billion government contract. I said, yeah, that's why Donald Trump got him around. See, Donald Trump is going to make sure his family stuff their pockets with all kinds of money before he leaves office. And I bet every dime in my wallet, he didn't apply for that contract. They just gave it to him. And that's the same way with Elon. Elon don't apply for all those contracts. They just give it to him. So y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. I do have a few more lives coming up, so just be on the lookout for that. So I will see you later. Shalom, family.